Welcome to the Product Business Podcast. This is your number one podcast for the tips, actions, and insights to make more money from your products while enjoying your life. I'm your host, Amy Wenslow. Let's dive right in. Hello, everyone. Today's episode comes from someone's comment in our Facebook group. Feel free to join that if you'd like. It's called Product Entrepreneurs. You can find it just by searching for that, or we'll put a link in the description of this episode. So someone said that the reason they wanted to join that Facebook group was to bounce ideas off of other entrepreneurs. And that was very smart, but I would really go one step further. To bounce ideas off of other product entrepreneurs is even more specific, and there's reasons that you want to pay attention to who you're asking for input on different things. There's a couple reasons for this. So years ago in Los Angeles, I was in a program at the Small Business Development Center, and Ken, who was leading the talk, or this actual 6-month program, asked us to figure out, were the people around us optimistic or pessimistic as a general rule, like the majority of people. And he said something very fascinating to me, and that's this, that if the people around you were primarily pessimistic, then you want to actually be cautious about how much you share about your dream with them, because they'll tend to see all the negative in it, which can have some value. But really at the start of a project, you really need people that are going to help fuel you and see vision and get you excited. And so he had us do an exercise about, imagine talking to someone who's pessimistic, meaning they see the negative all the time about everything, and the experience when we talk to somebody who's optimistic, who sees possibility in ways that lots of things can happen. And every one of the 12 of us said that our experience when we talk to an optimistic person is it feels more possible, it feels energizing, and we're more excited about what we're doing, right? And if you think about a pessimistic person, when you start sharing things with them and they're saying, oh, well, my friend did something like that and it didn't work out. And, well, I don't know that that's really so smart. And they're grinding it down like that, you end up feeling deflated. So it's really important when you're thinking where to bounce ideas off of, that you have a frame of reference about who you're asking and what you're asking them for, and that they have some experience preferably in it, or have done something that you'd like to do. And also, I was reminded of a time, probably about 8 years ago, that my husband Jeff and I were talking, and I realized that we had very different circles of friends. Now, when I came into meeting Jeff and getting married and all of that, I had been in the product and entrepreneurial space for years. And so all of my friends are CEOs of businesses, they're founders, they're owners, they're entrepreneurial, and they're very excited about that, right? And very much about create the path that they want to be on. And Jeff's friends, awesome people, they were almost all exclusively employees. And so it was a very, very different energy. And it was something that we really noticed, right? Because how entrepreneurs think and how business owners think is very different than how an employee thinks. An entrepreneur thinks, what is the return on investment, right? Not on how much something costs. So I'll go into that a little bit more in an upcoming episode. But I think it's a really important distinction that as a business owner, it's about the return on investment, right? It's not about the price of something. So when you are thinking where you want to bounce ideas on somebody or off of someone, number one, ask people you respect who have done something that you want to do, right? So number two, ask people in your target audience what they think of the idea. Do not let them know that it's your idea or your product, but just, hey, what do you think about a thing that would do XYZ and whatever that is. So if you want to sell to soccer moms, ask soccer moms. If you want to sell to corporate people, ask corporate people, right? You want to make sure that you're getting a frame of reference that has something substantial and significant to contribute. And the third thing is ask people that are further along the path that you want to be on, that have a certain expertise or perspective that you don't have yet. And it's really important distinction. So next part always comes out of where do you bounce ideas, right? Some Facebook groups, like I said, we have one, it's called Product Entrepreneurs, and some Facebook groups are good. Other Facebook groups get mired in this how you feel and straight up just mindset things. And you want to have a blend of mindset and tactical, strategic, actionable things, right? Because mindset by itself is great, but it doesn't necessarily get you anywhere until you implement something. Please implement something. The other place to consider asking and bouncing ideas is in-person meetings, whether it's one-on-ones or group. I have a meeting on Monday that I have specifically set up with someone from Vistage because I have a couple problems with our referral sources and some other things, and she has specific experience that I think will be very helpful to us. So I'm actually driving 3 hours each way to go meet with Anna in person, because you get a different energy when you meet in person than when you do a phone or a video conference. A lot of things can be done over phone and video conference, but this is so key and so critical that it's worth the drive time. And I'm able to bracket it with some other meetings. So where do you want to ask? You want to ask it maybe some Facebook groups or maybe some things on LinkedIn. In-person meetings, big help. And then look for multi-day entrepreneur conferences, preferably ones where you're going to be on site with people for a while and you can actually have some meals together. CEO Space was a good one for that for me for a long time. And there's other conferences like that. You want to look for places where there's community and where there's going to be a trust factor generated and you can really get to know someone's perspective. And then group trainings and mastermind groups. We run several different group trainings, and we have a mastermind group that is specifically, exclusively for product businesses and people that are building in the product space. So it's been extremely helpful for many of our members. Make sure that if you are going to be in a mastermind group, that you try and get into the one that is the best fit for what you're doing. So if you're doing a product, get into a product mastermind. There aren't a lot of them out there. It's very important though, because the challenges of a product business are different than the challenges of, say, a realtor. So you want to get the perspective of people who have done what you're doing or who have tried some things or have something of common with you, right? And then it's always good if you have one or two perspectives that are outside of that, that can show you, oh, these are the technologies that are happening in another space and how you could potentially use them. So I really recommend, here's your action item. Get yourself into a community that is doing what you aspire to do, whether it's start a product business or start any kind of business. Get yourself into community because, as the saying goes, we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So that means if you aspire to be in shape and physically fit, start hanging out with people that are in shape and physically fit. Borrow their energy, their momentum, their habits, and you will do better than if you are slugging it out alone, trying to count calories and do all this stuff. And, maybe your family or your friends aren't involved in that, right? And you're left to kind of maintain your own energy. You will do much, much better if you are in a group or a community that is headed the direction you want to go, right? That's why birds fly in a V pattern, people. It's what works best. It's the most efficient use of your energy, your time, your money, everything is to be in a group that's headed the direction you want to go. I would love to have a conversation with you to see if the Product Entrepreneur Mastermind that we run is the right one. That's our special mastermind group. And then you can join the Facebook group, which is Product Entrepreneurs. And that's a more open group, but it's really very, very important. So if it's with us or it's with someone else, I want you to make sure that you get yourself into a community that is supportive, that is doing what you aspire to do. With that, everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. We'll be back with our next episode soon. Listen to the Product Business Podcast with me, your host, Amy Wenslow. Subscribe, review, and share our podcast on Apple iTunes, Podcasts, or Google Play. Until next time.